I will never tell you not to follow your heart. I will never tell you you can't.
This is The Deep Dive with Adam Roa.
Hello there, deep divers. Thank you very much for joining me for another episode of the Deep Dive podcast. Today is a musings episode. That means it's just you and me and this epic spirithood quote that I have. For those of you who are watching on the YouTube, for those of you watching on the YouTube, you can see this massive fake fur coat that I'm wearing. It's so comforting to me. I love soft, fuzzy things. And decided to do the podcast with this on today. And before I dive into today's topic, which is all about why would you be friends with someone you didn't want to date your sister or your brother or your mom or your dad or your son or your daughter, like in any of that? Why would you be friends with someone that you didn't want to get close to your loved ones? And the effect that compartmentalization has on people's lives when there is kind of a separation between different aspects of someone's life. So that's today's topic. And before I get into that, I just want to let you know about the Create community. If you haven't heard, if you're new to the podcast, I've launched a free online community called Create, the collective renaissance of education, art, transformation, and entertainment. And we are offering live daily events and classes within this community, all for free. So yoga class, cooking class, singing lessons, open mic night, acoustic concerts, the conversations, house parties, virtual house parties, like all of these things that we are doing. And it's completely free to join. You just go to thecreatecommunity.com and you'll be able to sign up. And I'd love to see you in there. It's really cool to go into like a yoga class and see people's faces and see them all doing the same yoga class all around the world. It's surprisingly a lot more fun than I thought it would be, to be honest with you. Excited to announce that. And also wanting to just ask a favor. Please share this podcast out, leave a review on iTunes, subscribe on Spotify or YouTube, follow the channel, any of that. Wherever you're finding this, if you can help support on that platform, it would mean a lot. I do this podcast completely for free, and I hope that it continues to grow every single month, but it only does that if we can kind of get into those algorithms and with your support. So please, subscribe, follow, leave a review, all of those things. Share it out with your friends and loved ones. It would mean a lot to me. All right, now let's talk about today's topic. Today's topic is, why would you be friends with someone you didn't want to date your sister? And this came up because my sister called me up and she said, Adam, I have to talk to you. And then she sounded nervous and I went, okay. And she let me know that she was developing feelings for a friend of mine. And I could just feel it. And I said to her on that call, and this is in the midst of a full work day, right? I found like a 20-minute window where I could get on the phone with her, and it's just full work day. And I say, I have been so busy for the last several days in a row, and even today, that I don't have the space, like the proper space, to really think this through. However, what I want you to know is that I will never tell you not to follow your heart. I will never tell you you can't follow your heart in any way, shape, or form. Like, that's just not what I stand for. It's not what I believe. And I said, but before I respond to this, I would love to like have a day to just think about it, where I'm not in between things and stress, and just think about it. And she said yes. And then the next day I thought about it, and I also spoke to him, my friend, and he also had some nervousness, I could tell. And he was a little bit nervous and asking, letting me know kind of what had happened and how they started to develop feelings and all of this. And I told him the same thing that I believe when I said it to her, which is, I love you, dude. Like, I think you're a great human. You're a great person. I think you have a really big heart. It's the reason why I have you in my life. And in that moment, I understood even more deeply that I don't have anyone in my life that I feel I couldn't say the same thing to. Whether they're friends or business partners or romantic partners or any other person that I would consider to be close to me in my life, that I see regularly, that I talk to regularly, mentors, people I coach, whatever that relationship is. If I am regularly talking to this person, if I'm seeing them a lot, if they are part of my inner world, they're epic humans. I can't think of a single exception. And that wasn't always the case. In fact, when I was in high school and college, my friend called me out one time because he said, "Why are you always giving all these people a chance? Because you're just hanging out with people that have a reputation for being, playboys or troublemakers or whatever. Like, why are you surprised when you get burned in those relationships?" And I did. I had a bunch of different friends who had drug problems or committed crimes or mistreated women or whatever it was, and I would be friends with them. And I did regularly, looking back on it now, I did regularly have this savior complex where I wanted to help these guys. And at the same time, I was allowing myself to be in the energy of people, spending a lot of time around people who weren't lifting me up, really, who I was often taking on as almost like a form of repentance. Like, I could do good in the world because I can see the good in this person. And understand that I can see the good in humans. I believe humans inherently at their core want to do good. Even the killers and the rapists and all of that, I believe there's love in their hearts. It might be underneath a lot of trauma and wounding, but it's there. And so while I see that, I have a firm belief, which is that love is unconditional, relationships are not. And so to have love for someone, I can do that with anyone. I believe that. And yet, to be in relationship with someone, any type of relationship, whatever that might look like, whether that's friendship, a romantic partnership, a business partnership, there are conditions to what is important to me in relationship. And those conditions are always going to start with one thing for me, and that's integrity. Integrity. Can I trust this person? Truly, can I trust them? Do I trust them with my heart? Meaning, can I open up to them and feel like they'll be respectful to my emotions and how I feel? Can I trust them in business? Can I trust them with their word? Like, do I feel like they're being honest with me? Do I have to worry that they're going to hide things from me? Integrity is just a fundamental part of any type of relationship dynamic that I would enter into with someone. And so a friend of mine is going to have integrity because they wouldn't be a friend of mine otherwise. A friend of mine is someone that I know that I can be open and honest with because I trust them to be able to hold my emotional experience if I choose to share it with them. I don't think they'll make fun of me for it. I don't think that they'll invalidate my emotions. If I share my dreams with them, like what I'm creating, what I'm working on, what I want to do, I believe that they're going to lift me up and not tear me down. They're not going to tell me I can't do it. They're going to say, "Yeah, that sounds awesome. Here's some thoughts about it." Yeah, sure. Maybe they can say like, "Are you sure about this part or this part?" But they're never going to tell me I can't, because I don't want people in my life who don't believe that I can. Because you may have heard this before, but we are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with. And what that really means is that the people that you spend the most time with are going to become the primary reflection that you have of yourself in your life from the outside world. right? If they think that you're stupid, if the 5 people you spend the most time with think you're stupid, they'll say things that make you feel stupid. They will point out the things that you don't know more than what you do know. And you are going to get this reflection from the outside world of being quote unquote stupid. And if you're surrounded by 5 people who believe that you're the most hilarious human on the planet, they're going to laugh when you say things. They're going to tell you how funny you are. They're going to encourage you to keep sharing. And that's going to build your confidence. And you might become a stand-up comedian. You might be a storyteller. You might become an actor. Like, who knows? But you're going to have built up this confidence even more because of the reflections you're getting around you. And while we talk about sovereignty and the understanding that it all starts within yourself, also understand that we don't live in a vacuum. You interact with other people. The outside world will impact you. And so who you want to be is going to start inside of yourself. And then it's up to you to make the choices to design your life in a way that it reflects that back to you. Okay, you want to be someone who can achieve a big dream, like big lofty goals for your life. Amazing. First, you get to believe that you can do it. And the moment that you start believing you can do it, you're going to start to cut out the people who believe you can't. Because if you look around at people who have succeeded in business and succeeded in their big, lofty dreams, there are always people around them who believed in them. Always. And it's an important aspect to this. And so the inner work that we do on ourselves is to get us to the place where we actually can say, I believe I'm worthy of being surrounded by people who believe in my dream. I believe I'm worthy of being surrounded by people who love me and treat me with respect. I believe I'm worthy of being surrounded by people who are in their integrity because I'm in mine. And that's the thing. If you're not embodying it already, if you're not a stand for those values, it's going to be very tough for you to surround yourself with those people. Because if you're always breaking integrity, you're not going to have a lot of people around you holding you to your integrity, first and foremost. And people who are holding themselves to a level of integrity aren't going to want to be around someone who's not in it themselves. So we create our lives in this way. We create the feedback loops in this way, and they can be non-supportive. They can tear us down and hold us back, or they can be incredibly supportive. And so for me, integrity is one of my core values. And everyone in my life, whether it's a business partner, a friend, a romantic partner, a family member, gets to be in their integrity. They get to be someone that I trust. They get to be someone that I think is a good human who's always choosing love to the best of their ability. That gets to be the foundation of relationships in my life. And so the moment that a friend calls me up and says, "Hey, I'm interested in your sister," I can say, "Okay, I know you're a good human. I know that you meet this baseline conditional criteria to be in my life. And I don't value myself less than I value my sister. If you're not quote good enough to date my sister, how are you good enough to be in my life?" Right? Whatever that evaluation is with good enough. I don't like that terminology, but it's what came out right now. And so for yourself right now, what type of people do you want in your life? Would you be proud to have your son or your daughter dating your friend? Or would you be proud to introduce your friend to your sister or brother? Like, do you value your loved ones in a way that's different than you value yourself? Bringing this back to treat yourself like someone you love. The highest of standards gets to be for you. You get to have the highest standard for who is allowed into your inner circle, because by doing that, it's going to elevate every area of your life, every single one. And that feedback loop is going to allow you to create the life of your dreams. You're going to take bigger risks in the direction you want to go. You're going to find that the relationships that you have start to get deeper and more loving and more powerful and more inspiring. And as all of that begins to shift and shape into a new paradigm for you to live in, you start to reflect that even more. You become inspiring. You become more loving. People want to be around that. You become magnetic. And all the opportunities that you desire for yourself are going to up-level as a result of that, because people want to be around that. It magnetizes more to you. And so, would you let your friend date your sister? Think about your friends. Think about where you're compromising for yourself. Think about where you're not yet loving yourself enough to set strong boundaries. And shift it. Shift it today. There's no better time than now. And if you are struggling to actually hold those boundaries, if you're realizing that there's parts of you that don't feel worthy of it, if you're realizing there's parts of you that are still in shame or guilt or blame for yourself, start there. Before cutting out those relationships, start working on the one that you have with yourself. If you go to my website, you can get 5 days of dating yourself. It's a free 5-video journey that I created to help you with this very specific thing, to help you develop a deeper relationship with yourself, to fall more in love with yourself. Because being able to hold a boundary with others is going to be the direct result of how much you stand in your own integrity. How much you stand for yourself, because that's what you're doing. When you create that boundary, you're not saying this is a boundary for you. You're saying this is a boundary for me and what I'm saying I am worth and what I want. And you're worth that. The moment you decide it, you are. And so let this podcast be the thing that reminds you that you have the power. You have the power to choose, to decide. You have the power to change and shift, and you are worth it. I want to thank you so much for listening to this or watching this. Thank you so much for helping me spread the word about this podcast and for everything else that you do in the world. I want to remind you that always, in always, you are seen, you are heard, and you are loved.